Welcome to another episode of In Search of Santa Cruz. Today we are going in search of Santa Cruz County's historic roses, colorful living links to past people, places, and events. Our first stop is Evergreen Cemetery, one of the oldest Protestant cemeteries in California, and the final resting place for many of Santa Cruz County's pioneers. Among them are members of the Anthony family, who came to Santa Cruz in the 1840s and 1850s. For many years, a beautiful yellow and pink rose grew at the Anthony plot. The rose is called Anna Olivier and must have been planted sometime after 1872, when the variety was first introduced. At the Soquel Cemetery grows Madame Lombard, a tea rose first bred in 1878. It is a large, healthy-looking plant, despite receiving little attention. One of the most historic roses in Santa Cruz County is the Rose of Castile, also known as Autumn Damask. This variety was first introduced to California by the Spanish. These plants, located in an East Santa Cruz park, could well date back to the middle 1800s, when the property was owned by Jose Arana, an early settler. The plants don't look especially old because they grow like raspberries. Instead of developing a thick, gnarly trunk, they send out new canes from underground as older canes die off. In the late 1800s, the Arana property was purchased by Frederick Hageman and became known as Live Oak Ranch. A Belle of Portugal rose may date from the Hageman era. The variety has delicate pink blossoms and was developed in 1903. It's an incredible climber, reaching heights of 20 feet or more. Also on Santa Cruz's east side is the site of the Villa de Branciforte, a civilian community founded by the Spanish in 1797. Like the Rose of Castile, this little red rose was widely planted by the Spanish and was common in gardens in the 1800s. One used to grow at the one surviving adobe from the old villa. A fixture on Santa Cruz's west side for many years was the Cowell Ranch, now the site of the University of California. The historic district near the campus main entrance preserves many reminders of the property's past. There are barns, old cabins, old lime kilns, and old roses. This fence once marked the driveway to Henry Cowell's ranch house. The rose growing along the fence is a variety called Felicite Perpetu. This variety was popular in the middle to late 1800s, and these plants appear to be original to the site. On the hill above is the old ranch house, now known as Cardiff House, and home to the University Women's Center. The house was built in 1864 for the A.P. Jordan family. Mr. Jordan was a pioneer developer of the lime industry in Santa Cruz. Growing by the front porch is Lamarck, a noisette rose very popular in the 1800s. Each May it is covered with large white blossoms. This variety has been discovered at several historic sites in Northern California and must have been very popular at one time. Although its original name is unknown, it belongs to a class of roses called the hybrid perpetuals. Still further west from Santa Cruz is Wilder Ranch State Park. In the park's core of historic buildings lies the Meter House. The front part of this house was built in the 1850s by Moses Meter, who in 1846 came by ship around the Horn to California. This pink rose is Duchesse de Brabant. This variety was very popular in gardens a century ago and was a favorite of President Teddy Roosevelt. On the east side of the meter house, near the driveway, is a Rosa roxburghii. Unlike many roses, which are varieties developed through hybridization, this is a naturally occurring species of rose and is native to China. If it is in bloom, be sure to sample its fragrance, or lack of fragrance. That's the strange thing about this rose. Some people cannot detect any fragrance. Some can smell it, but do not find it objectionable. Still others find the fragrance very unpleasant. In Capitola lies the abandoned Rispin Mansion. Oil tycoon Henry Allen Rispin bought Capitola Village in 1919 and built his 22-room house 2 years later. He hoped to attract other wealthy settlers to the region, but instead Rispin went bankrupt and left the area. A victim of vandalism and failed dreams, the mansion today is a burnt-out graffiti-covered shell. There are still hints, however, of the once lavish gardens. Visitors to the gardens long ago were welcomed by Dr. W. Van Fleet, a rose with large, lightly scented, pale pink blossoms. There was also a Tausendschön, which was a red climber. A double white Lady Banks still grows beside the old driveway. Nicknamed the Sugar King, Klaus Spreckels built a vast sugar manufacturing empire in Hawaii and California during the late 1800s. He built a factory in Watsonville in 1888 and an even bigger one near Salinas in 1899. Spreckels also had a ranch in Aptos. Nothing remains of his Aptos estate except for a few trees and a giant Lamarck rose. A modern office building and parking lot blanket the old home site. This 1910 postcard claimed that this plant in downtown Santa Cruz was the world's largest rose bush. This may have been an exaggeration, but it would be hard to exaggerate its beauty. The rose is known today as Fortune's Double Yellow, a variety that originated in China. Although the giant Santa Cruz plant is long gone, this rose still grows at an old cabin site in Nisene Mark State Park. I hope you have enjoyed this tour of historic roses in Santa Cruz County, California.